Join me today as we finally finish planting the front flower beds of the front door on either side of the walkway. Come along. Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to Horticulture Geek. I'm Ray. Thank you so much for joining me today on the channel. And it is Veterans Day. It is November. In the previous video, we tackled taking down our Halloween fall photo booth, cleaning up the yard, ripping out all the summer annuals from the flower bed, and then we pulled all the leftover pieces and made a Thanksgiving display at the front door. And I told you in that video, and I showed you some things I had purchased to finish planting those flower beds, and today is the day. So we are going to be working on that project. Now, I have picked up some bulbs as well, and I briefly want to talk about bulbs. I picked up tulips and I picked up hyacinth bulbs. Now, if you've been with my channel for a while, you know that I typically plant a lot of tulip bulbs. I typically do 600 tulip bulbs in the front of the house. I have skipped that this year with this whole flower bed. We redid it this year. It's brand new. I planted some different things, and I just felt like this was a year to let that rest. And then I was at a big box store and I saw a bulb sale, and so I picked up just a few bulbs that I think are going to be pretty. Now, I'm not going to have a big 600 mass impact tulip planting, but what I am going to have on either side of that walkway is I picked up 25 for each side of the pastel jewel blend. Okay, so these were on sale, so I grabbed those. And then I also picked up a bag of 12 for each side of the Beyond Fragrant blend, and their pastel colors as well, hyacinth mix. So what we're going to do is we're going to kind of line the walkway with the hyacinths and then plant the tulips out along the edges there as well. And that is going to give us in the spring our kind of spring display as these bulbs come into bloom. Now, to plant tulip bulbs is easy. Let me open one, and hyacinth bulbs, they're the same. Let me open one of these packages and we'll just talk about that right now. Because I do live on a busy street, and so if this is your first time joining me for a video, it's harder for me to talk out there, so I do a lot of the talking back here in the backyard. So this is a tulip bulb, and I'm holding it. It looks like a Hershey's Kiss, kind of almost. Now, not every bulb has this teardrop Hershey's Kiss shape, but some do, and a tulip bulb certainly does. And what we want to do is we want to plant it right side up. So this is the tip, and this is where the leaves and the flower stalk emerge. And this is the base where the roots emerge. And let me kind of get that in there, the camera. There you go. You can see those hairy, furry little roots. So we want to plant our little teardrop Hershey Kiss bulbs just like that. Every bulb should be planted correctly. In my opinion, it matters. There are some gardeners out there who tell you, oh, it doesn't really matter, just throw the bulb in the hole. The problem I have found with that, especially if you have a weaker bulb, maybe you have an older bulb that you're going to see if it's working, or maybe you just have a smaller, like these are not very huge bulbs, right? From big box stores, you kind of get what you get. So I'm not sure. This is obviously, it looks like a nice healthy bulb, but I don't want to take any chances with this. If I plant this sideways, then when the flower and the leaves emerge, they're going to naturally want to go straight out, and they're quickly going to realize something is wrong, and then they have to turn to come up above soil level. So I have put undue stress on that bulb. And now if I plant it upside down, whoa buddy, that is a lot of undue stress on that bulb. Again, it's going to go straight out. It's quickly going to realize something's not right, and then it's got to make a full turn to come back up above soil level. And if you have a weaker bulb or a smaller bulb, it may just not have the energy to do that. So we always want to plant our bulbs the correct way. In my humble gardening opinion, the correct way is always better. Take a few extra seconds to do that. Now, let's look at a hyacinth bulb. Get that one put back in, and we're going to open up a hyacinth bulb. Now, not teardrop shape, more of a bulb, a round ball shape, but still you can see It's got a flat base with roots. It's got a pointy end for a flower. So we're gonna plant that in the ground just the way it is supposed to be. Okay, so that's our bulbs in the ground. And I'm gonna be using an auger to do this planting today because there are so few bulbs. If you are not planting a whole bunch of bulbs, or if you have a lot of property and maybe you do order 600 bulbs, but you're gonna spread those out, using an auger is the easiest method to do it. Let the power drill dig the hole for you, and that's what I'm gonna be doing today. Now, when I typically plant 600 tulip bulbs in my front yard, I'm on a suburban lot. It's a small space. I don't have a lot of property. So I do the pit method. I literally dig out the flower bed and create a big pit, put in my fertilizer, and then I position all the bulbs into that pit, and then I bury them. That allows me to get multiple bulbs in a closer proximity together, okay? Because I'm wanting them to be like this far apart when I'm doing them a bunch like that. And you probably are going to be doing the same thing as well. If you want a mass planting, okay? Now you can do this with an auger. The problem with an auger is if I drill this hole and then I drill this hole, the dirt out of this hole is going to fill in this hole. And on down the line it goes. So me personally, it is very labor intensive, but I almost just find it easier to dig a pit if I'm doing mass plantings. Now in today's situation, I only have 25 tulip bulbs. So instead of putting them close together, I'm gonna spread them apart. It's still going to be impactful, but I don't have to worry about soil kicking in for this hole from this hole, so my auger is going to be perfect for that. So that's my soapbox about augers and pits. Again, do what you want to do, whatever works for you. If all you have is a hand trowel, use your hand trowel. If you have a bulb planter, which is basically, you know, just a round metal punch disc, if that works for you, do that. I prefer an auger or a pit. Now then, so I got the pastel tulips and I got the pastel hyacinths. So my pansies that I'm going on top of are pastel. And here is my tip to you guys. If this is your intro into winter gardening, you haven't done it before, you can find some beautiful plants at big box stores. Typically what you will discover at the big box stores is that they have very few varieties and they have mass quantities of those few varieties. So if you want yellow pansies or white pansies or purple pansies, you're good. Go to the box store. If you want a more interesting blend, softer colors, this, that, and the other, you need to go to a garden center. A garden center is going to carry way more diverse varieties, and they're going to have them in good quantities. So this year I went to a garden center and I picked out a couple of flats of pansies, and I absolutely love them. This is called the Delta Classic Monet Mix. So this is some pastel and traditionals. Let me see the camera focus for you. Okay. And they're just really pretty. So you've got your traditional bright colors, but then you also have your softed, muted pastels in there. And I think in the spring, when these are big and blooming, and they're gonna have color and interest for me all winter long. I am in Central Arkansas, zone 7B, 8A, right on the line. These will grow and flower for me all winter long. Now, during the cold months of winter, into December, January, February, they're not gonna actively grow. They're just gonna sit, but they're gonna be fine. And they're gonna do some growing before then. And then as soon as spring temperatures start warming up, they're gonna grow again. And so these are gonna have just a beautiful blanket of color out there on the flower beds. And then those tulips and those hyacinths are gonna come up and all the colors will coordinate and should look wonderful. Now, since I am not doing the entire front of my home, I'm only doing at the sidewalk on either side, right at the front door. I also picked up some Dusty Miller, and I'm gonna use the Dusty Miller in a kind of drift behind the pansies to define the planting area from where I've planted, where my pansies are, and then the rest of the flower beds. And I think this is a wonderful plant to do it. Again, for me, in my growing zone, Dusty Millers are almost an evergreen. If you're in warmer like Texas, Florida, California, Dusty Millers I think are perennial. Here they are considered a very, very, very hardy annual. Heavy, long sustained freezes will kind of wipe them out. But for the most part, Dusty Millers will just grow year round here. So they're a really good plant, and they get some size and bulk on them. So this, little plug out of this 6-inch flat right here is going to eventually become a very small bush. I mean, it'll literally get pretty big if it likes its spot and grows. And so this is going to be a beautiful backdrop to define coming off the sidewalk for me, and define the pansies and the planting area, and just give some definition to that space. So with all that being said, you've seen what I've got. It's time to head out there and get this planted. So I will be using Biotone. If you've been with me for a while, you know I love my Espoma Biotone. It is a product that helps your roots establish, okay? So if you have never used a mycorrhizal product, that's what this is. It is a starter fertilizer with a mycorrhizal product in it. That is what helps root development. And so that's what we really want to focus on for healthy, sustained plantings. So you'll see me kind of put that in the holes as we go through this process. I'm going to set the camera up. I won't really speak to you because it's just too much road noise and traffic out there, but then we'll come back and wrap this video up at the end. So here we go. right, here we have it. Bulbs are in the ground, pansies are in the ground, and the dusty millers, you can kind of see what I was talking about, how the dusty millers kind of form a fun little backdrop. And then I did save 1 6-pack of pansies each, so after Thanksgiving, when all this comes out, I can fill in those gaps with pansies on each side. All right, guys, that's gonna wrap up this week's video. I hope you've enjoyed it. Simple projects, and I know that for some of you, November may be too late to do these things, but for a lot of us in the country, in the United States, in the world, if you're in a warmer climate, you still have plenty of time to do these things. Get your winter plants into the ground. I hope this video has inspired you. It certainly makes me feel good. My to-do pile back here is getting much smaller, so I do have a few more projects to work on, and I'll try to bring you guys along for those. But I feel great just getting done what I got done. And so I hope that you can still go out and find some pretty things in your area. Now remember, big box stores are wrapping it up. If they have anything left at all, it's not gonna be much. Most of them have already started to do major discounts to clear it all out, because they're gonna be bringing in Christmas trees and poinsettias and things. Garden centers should still have a fairly good selection, depending on who their suppliers are and how big they are, but there are still lots of beautiful things out there that you can find to do similar projects in your garden. So like I said, if you've enjoyed this video, I hope that's awesome. It's inspired you. Give me that thumbs up if it has. If you have any questions or comments, leave those down below. But until next time, guys, from my garden to yours, I wish you all the best and happy gardening.